cheated on by wife. Left for another guy. She still texts me frequently and cries to me how I'm doing better than her and how it's not fair. To begin, my name is 31 male, and my wife's name is 28 female. We have 2 children, ages 7 and 5. My wife requested a divorce on August 27, 2020. She departed that day and was reportedly staying with her mother. The next day, I get texts from her cousin claiming that she has been cheating on me. Wife maintains she has never done so up to this point. We met a week later to perform a Zoom meeting on her phone to meet our son's instructor online. She receives a Facebook message that says, "Only a few hours, eggplant emoji, peach emoji, sweat emoji." I asked her after the meeting if she could clarify it, and she replied she didn't want to speak about it and that she had already erased the texts. She claimed it was one of her pals, since my wife was out on a date and apparently girlfriends get thrilled for one other and believe they're going to get banged, which I definitely did not believe. I became enraged and urged her to go. She informed me she was bringing the kids to another city to see her grandparents and go swimming for Thanksgiving, which is in October for us in Canada. She ended up lying and went to a hotel with our kids and this person she allegedly cheated on me with. The automobile engine broke up and died on the way back. The automobile she battled me for and still owes about $12,000 on and makes payments on every couple of weeks. This is when I started to believe in karma a little bit more. Between September and November, my wife and I drank and had around 5 or 6 times. I still desired her return and really want to have with her. I'm understanding now that she's been seeing this man for quite some time. I discovered photos of them approximately a week and a half ago. I haven't spoken to her since I viewed those photos and verified everything. I really wanted to accept all of her falsehoods, even the blatant ones. So she cheated on me, dumped me for him, and then cheated on him with me. Just 2 weeks ago, before I knew for sure, she came over and we were chatting, and she let me feel her up and gave her a full body massage. I have no idea what's going on in her thoughts right now. Some further information. The kids are okay, my apartment is tidy, and I've shed 50 pounds since she left, 235 pounds down to 185 pounds. She's came to my house a number of times and wept to me about how unfair it is that I'm doing so much better than she is. She's complained that it's not fair that I'm doing all of this now, rather than when we were together. On Christmas, she assured me she still loved me and got me presents. Not just trash, but a bottle of sake since she knows how much I want to visit Japan and cook ramen and other Japanese dishes. So she gave it some consideration. I don't intend to be disrespectful, but she doesn't look very nice these days either. She's gained weight and has been heavily involved with drugs and alcohol. She claims to cry all the time. She told me she was depressed with me, left me expecting things would get better, but she is still melancholy, which bothers her. But, as we all know, happiness comes from inside, and she doesn't have any. So if you abandon me for someone else, be glad about it and make the most of it. She hasn't contacted me in 4 days. This is the longest she has gone without texting me in 4 months. When we were dating, she informed me that if she ever left, I would fail. She predicted that if I began working in a kitchen as a dishwasher, I would never make any friends. Apparently, she forgot how outgoing and friendly I am. All of the waitresses adored me, and I progressed from dishwasher to working in the line to being asked if I wanted to bartend. I was overweight at the time, and my self-esteem and confidence were in shambles, so I didn't pursue a career in bartending. She didn't like how many people ended up like me, particularly the females. Throughout our marriage, anytime my wife and I went out drinking, she would invariably wind up twerking on the wall or the floor and allowing people to videotape her. She flirted with everyone and had several of my close friends convinced that I wanted to do it with her. I don't drink very frequently, but one Halloween I drank too much at a friend's party and ended up passing out and spitting up all over the place. While I was doing that, she was in the restroom with men who were showing her off in exchange for free coke and who knows what else. But she persuaded me that nothing had occurred, leading me to believe that I was insane and that everyone else was incorrect. Basically, you're gaslighting me. I'm currently seeing a therapist, and I'm discovering that she really simply requires constant attention from other sources. Getting it from her hubby was insufficient. I realize we all have problems, and our marriage was far from flawless. I know I still love and care for her, but I'm not going to be a backup or a second option. I hate comparing my situation to hers, but it helps me feel better right now. I have my own apartment, a dog, happy children, my own car, money, and I'm in university, and even though I feel like utter, I'm going through the feelings so that I can truly move on and attempt to be at peace. Whereas she is living with her mother, has a damaged car, no vehicle, is begging for money from me, and is living on COVID money, is miserable, depressed, thought the grass was greener and it isn't. She is so scared of being alone with her thoughts that she sometimes sleeps with her mother or the children. She will not go on once I have. I'm not sure whether she'll ever move on since she's stubborn and realizes she made a mistake. Finally, I'm not sure why she cheated and left, but she still texts me, has with me, and tells me how much better I'm doing than she is. It befuddles the intellect. But on the other hand, how can you comprehend someone who doesn't understand themselves? I'm doing great, but some weeks I'm simply so sore. It's as if she ripped my heart out, fractured it, and then smacked the other person on top of the shattered parts. That's the end of the narrative. There's so much more I could say and backstory I could provide, but I believe this is sufficient. Thank you for your time. Please feel free to ask any queries you may have. It's a challenging time to be separated, cheated on, and COVID all at the same time. Story 2. I believe my wife, 39, may have cheated on me, 41. The last time I held a card game at my house was about 3 months ago, with a bunch of coworkers. As a consequence of the excessive amount of alcohol consumed, I passed out before everyone else had even left the premises. My wife and our children spent the most of the night in a different part of the house than we did. Later that night, she arrived and immediately started shooting with my friends. My friend told me that he and his partner were apparently the last 2 people to leave the house that night, so I asked him what had happened. They stayed till 3 a.m. I had already gone to bed and shot a slew of photographs of my wife and me. My wife has a drinking problem, which has caused problems in the past with our children. We've been in a very stable relationship for the last 8 years. We have children, a beautiful house, stability, and so on and so forth. I'm not worried about any of the males that were in the house that evening. Among other things, we work together, he's not her type, he's married, and so on. The other gentleman, on the other hand, is exactly what she is looking for. On the outskirts of town, we're simply good friends who have always been cordial to one another. His personality seems to be that of a decent man in my view. He left 6 growlers in my house that night, so the next morning, completely unaware of what had happened, I phoned him to inform him of the situation. Over the next several days, he fails to respond to a handful of messages that have been left for him. His lack of contact first strikes me as odd, until another friend tells me that the 2 of them, as well as my wife, had stayed up late shooting together the night before. I confront my wife about it, informing her that my buddy had told me that his friend and she had entered my office alone at my request. I completely made this up, but my spidey senses were tingling, and it was evident that if someone was trying to up with someone in our house, they would have done it upstairs with their spouse and children, not below. She categorically denied it. I remained skeptical, and the conversation continued. I should be reprimanded for approaching the subject in this manner. It seemed to me that something wasn't quite right, so I decided to investigate the situation in an unethical way. This was not one of my finest moments. The other night, we were having a casual conversation and she recounted the times. Went into the office with her friend to get him a blow-up bed since he was so inebriated that he couldn't drive home. As a result, apparently out of nowhere, she puts herself in the position of having to choose between lying to me then and lying to me now. We had a short disagreement during which I pushed her to explain herself. I left before it became too heated since our children were awake, and I'm now considering how to go with the situation. What should I do at this point? Is it conceivable that I'm going nuts right now? Were my premonitions right, or did I make a mistake? Despite the fact that we do not have a jealous relationship, her conduct during that era of our relationship struck me as weird and made me feel uncomfortable.